When it comes to Britain, the first name that comes to mind is probably Queen Elizabeth, right? But there's one lady in Britain's history who led the sovereign state to greatness, and many don't even know about her. I'm talking about Queen Anne. For a long time, many historians believed that even though she was a queen, her lifestyle was simply full of hardships and nothing fancy. Most of the information known about her was related to dealing with politics. That sounded strange for a member of royalty. I mean, if anyone was a queen, they'd be splurging on luxuries too. Imagine spending £11,000 on a single cup of hot chocolate. While that might seem outrageous to us today, it turns out such extravagant spending wasn't uncommon for Queen Anne. Recent evidence has led historians to believe that this level of luxury was actually quite normal in her daily life. 300-year-old handwritten notes give insight into her royal spending at the time. It's estimated that Queen Anne's luxuries required spending of $12 million to sustain her lavish lifestyle. This extravagance manifested in various ways, from her wardrobe to her entertainment choices. One of her most bizarre interests was lobster racing, on which she spent millions. These unique parties involved placing live lobsters in a circular track and betting on which one would reach the center first. Anne's passion for luxury extended to jewelry as well. She had a remarkable collection of engagement rings, including 2 particularly stunning pieces, each worth over £13,500 in today's money. These were no ordinary rings, but lavish creations adorned with precious gems and metals. Her love for grandeur didn't stop there. She undertook extensive renovations and expansions of royal residences, transforming them into opulent settings for the most extravagant events of her time. Even her daily life reflected this luxury. Her meals consisted of exotic foods that many could not even dream of tasting, with a significant portion of her expenses devoted to these lavish dinings. Beyond material possessions, Anne was also a patron of the arts. She had a keen eye for beauty, fostering literature and artistic pursuits throughout her reign. The term Queen Anne style in architecture and furniture design originated during her reign. She even supported several notable composers, including George Friedrich Handel, a German composer who moved to London in 1712 and became a favorite of Queen Anne, and even commissioned him to compose several operas of his time. Queen Anne lived a life of luxury as a ruler, but her personal story is full of ups and downs. To really get to know this interesting queen, let's look at where she came from and the tough times she faced before becoming the monarch. Anne was the second daughter of James, Duke of York, and was born in 1665. Although her father was a Roman Catholic, she was raised a Protestant at the insistence of her uncle. In 1683, she married Prince George of Denmark, but life was not always smooth for her. Her husband was not an ideal man and had drinking problems. She even mentioned how he had nothing in him, whether sober or drunk. Anne became Queen of England and the last of monarchs to rule over Scotland and Ireland in 1702 upon the death of King William III at the age of 37. She oversaw the Acts of Union in 1707 that merged the Kingdom of England and Scotland into the Kingdom of Great Britain. Historians believe that she did so because she was not able to provide a successor to the state. Britain emerged as a major world power during her reign, with key military victories and increasing wealth and luxury for the British monarchy. Now, you might think being queen was all fun and games for Anne, but stick around. You're about to discover the surprising challenges she faced. Despite being a queen, the popular notion is that she spent a tough life full of health problems, personal tragedies, and political controversies. Anne wished to carry out her work on her own, but due to her illnesses, including gout, rheumatism, and depression, she relied heavily on her advisors who guided her in making the right decisions. Even at the time of her coronation, Anne was suffering from a bad gout attack and had to be carried to the ceremony in an open sedan chair with a low back so that her 6-yard train could pass to her ladies walking behind. By the end of her reign, she had grown increasingly obese and was often carried in a sedan chair. She had lost 17 of her children, and only 5 made it to adulthood, further making her vulnerable to health issues and mental pressure. In the midst of these hardships, Anne found comfort in her best friend, Sarah Jennings, who was the Duchess of Marlborough. Their bond was known by all and very well documented. She was a constant presence at Anne's side and was known to have influence over her. It was Sarah who persuaded Anne to side with the Protestant ruler William III of Orange, Stadtholder of the Netherlands. When William overthrew James II in 1688, even this slightly good aspect of her life was turned upside down when rumors of their friendship being more of a lesbian nature were spread throughout the area. At that time, such remarks were taken as a big hit as it was more of a taboo of the era. There is no proper evidence to prove such claims, but it still put a question on her character as a queen of the biggest sovereign state of the time. Queen Anne's personal life was tough, but her job as ruler came with even bigger problems. While dealing with her own troubles, she also had to handle the tricky world of politics. Her reign saw two emerging political parties in Britain, which was seen as a good sign, but intense rivalry between the Whigs and Tories was heating things up. The Whigs and Tories' major disagreements were related to who should run the country. The conservative Tory party supported the influence of the monarchy on the inner workings of government, while the Whigs insisted that Parliament take on a greater role. Anne generally favored the Tories, but she soon discovered that she disagreed with them on strategy for the war and had to appoint Whig ministries when the Tories fell out of favor. She had several ups and downs in her personal and political life, but Britain made significant advancements during her era. The War of the Spanish Succession led to impressive British territorial gains, including Gibraltar, further elevating Britain's status as a major European power. Britain did face some tensions between the Whigs and Tories, but later the political stability achieved during her rule set the stage for the Georgian era. Many historians sympathize with Queen Anne because of her health problems and how she faced the challenge of not bearing any children, yet she still managed to bring value to Britain during her reign.